Hi guys, I'm going to interrupt your filling out your form and I'm just going to go ahead and start. So my name is Aurelia and I'm director of the UK-MENA Network. And what I'm going to focus on today is entering the field of Middle Eastern studies. So it's very much MENA focused. So we're going to kind of go away from the world of work a bit and look back into studies, applying for university, things like that. So the kind of things I'm going to cover are the practicalities of choosing the right course and what options there are. I'm going to look at preparing for university applications and then undergraduate studies and the different course structures, and then postgraduate studies and the different course structures. And then you're going to focus a little bit on Oxford and Cambridge applications as well. Then on to extracurricular, the importance of extracurricular, and talk a little bit about the UK-MENA network. Then a little section dedicated to careers, and then the benefits and importance of Middle Eastern studies, and then we'll finish with some questions. But also you can, interrupt me in the middle and ask if you have any questions. So firstly, choosing the right course and what are the different options. So, I mean, one of the most basic things is looking at which language you want to focus on. So we have Arabic, Farsi, Turkish, and Hebrew. Arabic, as you can see in green, is most widely spoken. And there's so many different fields that you can do within Middle Eastern studies, ranging from like linguistics, anthropology, sociology, history, politics, refugee studies, journalism. So there's so many different things within that field. Another important thing to think about is the university location and the course itself. And does this suit the kind of experience you want at university? So, do you want to go to St. Andrews? It's more isolated, but it's like a very, it's a quiet, nice place to study. Or do you want London? Are you happy to have a university environment where it's a lot more busy? And then in terms of the benefits of Middle Eastern studies, I mean, it's relevant, diverse, flexible, and it equips you with multiple skills. So preparing for university applications, this is just general. It's not magic. Really, you should use the university application page. It will say on it the kind of things that you need to do to fill in your application, the kind of advice, it's all there. So that's my first piece of advice, and it sounds very basic, but it's super important. The second thing is to take every opportunity to become familiar with the field, and I've given some suggestions. So start off reading by general books, and I've given 2 examples. So this is The Arabs by Eugene Rogan and Orientalism by Edward Said. These are almost like textbooks in the field of modern Middle Eastern studies. Whichever university you go to, these will always be mentioned at whatever level, and they'll give you a good basis, a good foundation. Another thing is to attend cultural or academic events. I'm going to give some more examples of how you can get involved with that in a bit. Reaching out to people in the field, whether that's at events or whether that's on LinkedIn. People are always or mostly very happy to speak to you if you're polite and you're genuine about your interests. So you should be bold and you won't miss out. If you don't ask, then yeah, you will miss out. So definitely try your chances. If they're useful and if they're good, then definitely try your career advisor at school. That's literally their job. So you should definitely go to them and, you should pass your application by them. And the final thing is to leave time for your application. Do not do it last minute. And it's good to send around to, family members, different members of staff. If you have a favorite teacher or a teacher that's, if you're doing modern Middle Eastern studies, languages or English, they can help you with that. And any other family, friends, or people who've already done Middle Eastern studies. So definitely pass it around, let people, like 5 people see it before you send it off. Now, for undergraduate course structure for Middle Eastern studies, it does vary depending on which university you apply to and also which exact course combination you've gone for. But one thing for sure is that if you're starting a language from scratch, you'll have high contact hours. So you'll have like 1 hour, 1 to 2 hours of language a day with like 1 hour of homework extra. And then, so I've just presented an example of kind of structure. So you can pick different modules like the ones I mentioned before, like history, politics, whatever. and then you have your language, and then maybe you'll have a qualifying exam. So you won't get graded, but it's either pass or fail to allow you to go into the second year. And then the second year, you've got the modules that you pick again and your language, and then you'll be preparing for where you want to go for your year abroad. So that takes quite a lot of time to think about which institution you want to be at, all the practicalities of like the application form, insurance, and you may have exams as well. Then you have your year abroad, and each university will ask different things. So some will ask you to do exams in the country you're in. Others will ask you to do like a 2,000-word essay in Arabic or in Farsi, whilst you're in that country. And you can split it like 6 months in one, 6 months in another country, or just all in one country. And then your final year is your modules again, language again, and then dissertation, which you'll kind of be thinking about during your year abroad, which is normally 8 to 12,000 words. And then you have your exams, and most of the grade will probably come from your final year exams. At the bottom, I've put about choosing your year abroad destination. So one of the first things that when I was choosing where to go, was thinking about dialect. And of course, there are different dialects spoken in different parts of the MENA region for Arabic, for example. And also the other things the country can offer. So, for example, if you want a place that's super diverse, you can go to Jordan. There's so many different people that are in Jordan. If you really are interested in nature, Oman, I'm sure you've already heard about that earlier on today. So it's important to think about which of the countries kind of offers you what you're interested in. So these are, off the top of my head, some of the universities that offer Middle Eastern studies. There are more, and they're all great. They all offer like very good courses. So here I've also just put an example of the kinds of things that you can study within Middle Eastern studies. So in Durham, as well as doing Arabic or Farsi, you can do things like Middle Eastern culture, Islam, and ethnography. You can add Farsi on top of your Arabic, and then look at literature and film. And then I've put an example from Leeds University. So you can see here that it's like in the top part, you're combining Middle Eastern studies with Chinese or African studies, and at the bottom you're combining languages with another skill. So there's really like endless options. Now for postgraduate course structure, I know this is not so relevant right now, but it's still useful to think a little bit about it. So again, it really varies depending on your university. But a master's can be anywhere between 1 to 2 years, and you can do it part-time if you want to work as well, or full-time. And then PhD in the UK, it's 3 to 4 years. In the US, it's around 6 years. And I think for a PhD, most people really need funding because it's so expensive by this point. I mean, you've got your undergrad, then your master's, and then a PhD. So that's something that you really need to consider. And also whether or not you want a future in academia. So a lot of advice I had been given when I was doing my master's is, if you want to continue into academia, do you want to be a professor or not? So that's a consideration. So for masters at Oxford for Middle Eastern Studies, these are some of the things that you could be studying. So there's a great range. Again, politics of Iran, the Maghreb, history of the Middle East, Islamism, Israeli politics and society, Turkish literature. So there's a lot there. Okay, now a little bit on Oxbridge applications. So I don't know how many people here are interested in applying to Oxford or Cambridge, but I definitely think go for it. You literally lose nothing by applying. The difference between these two universities generally is that they're very intense in terms of what you have to read, in terms of the amount of essays you're doing, maybe like 1 or 2 a week. But you can easily churn them out, like you just get used to it. The terms are very short, they're 8 weeks long. So you have almost as much holiday as you have for, whilst you're at university, which is great. You've got the whole college system. Yeah, question. I did. I went to Oxford for my MPhil, so 2-year masters. Yeah. So you've also got the college system. So it's almost like having a university within a university. So there's some colleges in Oxford and Cambridge that are older, some are more modern, some, it varies a lot. So my general advice for applying to Oxbridge, and also afterwards, if you want to speak with me or you want to email me about this, like please do. I'm very happy to help. You should definitely plan in good time and allow for a lot of different people to read this. So maybe this time, let's say you want 8 different people to read it. And imagine if each person will take 1 or 2 weeks to read it, like you need to plan that out in good time. There are some extra steps for applying to Oxbridge, as well as doing your statement of purpose and I think your CV as well. So you may have a language test. I'm not sure if they still do that, but it's basically, I mean, how do you test someone on Arabic if they don't know Arabic? They basically test you with like an alien language and see how you connect symbols and stuff. So it's really fun. So that's one thing. They ask for examples of writing, so you just send them like 2 of your best essays. And then they'll have, I think they're all online now, but most likely you'll have an interview too with maybe 2 or 3 different professors over a couple of days. Some of them are very friendly. Others are kind of trying to test you, but it's fine to take your time in those interviews. That's like a whole other ball game. But yeah. Use the course page. Again, it's not simple, but in terms of where to start, it is simple. And I'm going to show you the course page on the next slide. The reason why I say this is that I have worked with an agency. I've done paid work helping people get into Oxbridge. I've done free work helping people get into Oxbridge because people approach me on LinkedIn. And people make a lot of money trying to advise sixth formers on it. And I think it's helpful to have that advice, but if you stick to what the course page is really asking you, then that can save you a lot of time and a lot of money. Keep it academic. So what I mean by this is that don't reference that, I've been looking at YouTube videos in Arabic and I've really enjoyed them, or I'm listening to this podcast, or I follow this Arabic or Farsi or Turkish learning page on Instagram. Like, keep it to books, journals, textual things, maybe some things like if you've gone to a talk where an ambassador is talking or something like this, you can include that too, but keep it academic. Speak to people who've gone to Oxbridge before. Again, like approach them on LinkedIn or at events. If you're polite, I'm sure they'll be more than happy to help. And that's also how I think I approached 5 people on LinkedIn and 2 of them replied and I had a call with one of them and that was super helpful. And you need to show interest above and beyond. And my advice on how to do this is you need to stalk the publications of the professors in the Middle Eastern department. So you need to find out who they are, find out what they published, and don't just say, okay, I read their most famous book. Look at their most earliest publications that are just not particularly that interesting. You can have a look at them, read them and reference them, and they'll think, wow, okay, this student actually really cares. Because they will come around a table and they'll pass around the applications and they'll say, oh, okay, well, so-and-so mentioned my publication that no one knows about. You never know what can, flip a switch in their head. And I'm saying this because I have spoken with the professors that make these decisions. So it really could be something as small as that. And also mention your reaction. Okay, I read this book, but that conflicted with what I learned in this book, which conflicted with what I learned in this talk from this, diplomat. So also mention how your thoughts intervened in that process. There are so many free events you can attend. The Oxford Middle East Centre has 2 events a week for free. You don't need to register or anything. You literally just pop along and you go. Same for SOAS, other universities as well. And if you don't get in at first, you should try again. I tried 3 times over the course of 7 years and I finally made it. So if you want it, like you just keep at it. That's totally fine. And if you don't get in and you choose not to, that's fine. You'll also really love what you're doing at your university as well. So I said, use the course page. Here it says in your statement of purpose, you need to explain your reasons for applying, especially to Oxford. So you need to think when you look over your application, honestly, have I actually demonstrated that? Same with all of the points. You need to be really honest with yourself and make sure that you have answered all of these things very clearly. And you can also when you're asking friends and family to look at it, you can also send them this too and say, this is what I'm working up against. Do I match this or not? So it's not rocket science. And anyone can have a crack. Okay, now on to extracurricular. So these are things that aren't relevant to university, but these are some of the societies and groups that deal with things relating to Middle Eastern studies. You've probably heard of some of them. Some of them are for over 18s, but you can go maybe with like an older friend or contact, or they also have online resources for free as well. So this is other things that you can kind of get involved in to show that you're going above and beyond and that you're really interested in the field. Then extracurricular activities at university. So there's so many super prestigious, super active societies at university, and they do really fun events with some important people. And some of them go on trips as well. And also, depending on which language or which region of the MENA you're interested in, you can also attend societies relating to, like at Oxford, for example, they had like an Iraqi society, they had like a Somali society, so you can do that as well. And if they didn't have it, set up the society. There wasn't an Iranian society at Oxford, so I and a friend set that up. So just you can do that. And maybe some people think, especially if you're like very academically focused, that it's a waste of time, but it's not. It's fun, it's a great release, it's a great way to meet people and network. And a lot of opportunities can come from it as well. So definitely don't ignore extracurricular. A little bit about the UK-MENA Network, which I'm leading. So the purpose of this network is to connect university students and young professionals from the UK to the region. And we mainly do this through trips. We've got some job opportunities, we got some visits. So like we go on an annual trip to Jordan. We're also going to go to Bahrain. And we don't want it to be something where we're just taking a bunch of very well accomplished students from the UK and they're just like taking from the region. We also want it to be mutually beneficial. So these young people also give back. So we've got a lot of projects, volunteering. We're currently working on a volunteering scheme to send medical and administrative volunteers to Jerusalem, to an eye hospital in Jerusalem. So we do quite a lot. So this was our trip to Jordan in 2024. So the top left is us meeting the Prime Minister. The bottom left is us meeting Prince Al Hassan bin Talal. The top right is at the UNRWA refugee camp in Amman as well. So there's some official visits that we do, and then we have some cultural parts as well. So the top left, we've got us at the Dead Sea. Bottom left is us at Petra. And then top right is mansaf, which is the Jordanian national dish. It's amazing. So as well as the trips here, we've also got some events. We have a couple a month. So top left is us visiting the Iraqi Cultural Center with the Iraqi Embassy. In the top middle, we've got an event with former UK ambassador to Iran, Libya, Qatar, Yemen. So yeah, we're doing a lot of stuff. Okay, coming towards the end now. So careers after Middle Eastern studies, you've already listened to some of that already today. So I think a lot of people assume that if you're going to do languages or Middle Eastern studies, that you want to be a teacher or a translator. Of course, they're very respectable professions, and that's great. I came from a family where there are a lot of teachers, so I was like wanting to push against that. But there are so many things that you can do. We've already heard today about civil service, diplomacy, also intelligence. Like we don't have to have hardcore intelligence. It could be more like research, open source intelligence. Journalism, industry, law, humanitarian, academia. So there's a lot, and there's so much I've not listed as well. Okay, the benefits and importance of Middle Eastern studies. And maybe you just have a passion and you don't need to explain it, which is kind of how I felt. But it's relevant and super critical. You can't switch on the news without having something relating to the Middle East. So it's very relevant, very important. It's interdisciplinary. So the fact that you come out of this degree with multiple skills, you've got language skills, communication skills, it gives you flexibility for future jobs, so it's very valuable. In terms of language, that's incredible because it gives you freedom to communicate with people you may not normally be communicating with, and it will take you to so many different places. I think it's important as well. Like, I think that you can really make a difference if you're studying Middle Eastern studies. There's so many ways in which you can, put your efforts and contribute to the region. I think, I mean, my mum was at one point kind of interested for me to go more into the like medicine or science kind of direction, but I think the world already knows like, hey, we need doctors, we need lawyers, but I think we also need people that are kind of the doctors of communication and bridge building, which is exactly what Middle Eastern studies is. And it gives you the edge professionally if you're speaking another language. Some people here probably speak multiple other languages, so it's definitely a benefit, and the world needs it. So that's everything. If anybody has any questions, I'm very happy to answer. And also, if you want any kind of advice or anything about anything I mentioned today, then please feel free to reach out.
So much. Well, that's our last speaker of today, so I hope you enjoyed the day and you found it useful. You've got feedback on the table. I think you filled them in already. If you have got anything else to add, please